Greetings, YouTubers. How's it going out there in YouTube land? Just another day / night in paradise, right? That's what I thought. Well, today's enjoyment for your viewing pleasure is going to be me replacing a strut on this 2008 Ford Fusion. Last couple of days, I've been hitting a couple of holes on this side, and this side, it sounds like when I hit a hole sometimes, it sounds like someone's taking a sledgehammer and just smacking the front end of this really hard. I hit the same hole with the driver's side, and it's okay, so I know this strut is bad. And here's what we got to do. We got to take it off. I've already got the wheel off, and you can see there is the strut. Now the kicker is we're just replacing the strut, and I'm changing this spring out. Most people buy the spring and strut assembly together. Not me. I have to go the hard route. And besides, I save 50 bucks. I like saving money. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this out. We got to unhook a few things here. Unhook this upper ball joint. Unhook some brackets here for your ABS and your brake line, and we've got to take out a pinch bolt, which is right here on this bottom of the strut, and we got to take out this bottom bolt, which is right there, this guy here, that holds this fork from the bottom of this strut. And the top of this, of course, we got three 13mm bolts we got to take off, and I've already had this bolt here loose. This actually breaks loose for me. And one tip: get you some paint or some a marking pen, and mark the orientation of your bolts and nuts and stuff and the strut on the frame here of your upper strut support mount. That way it won't be too confusing when you put it back in. Here is the strut I bought, and like I said, this one does not come with a coil spring. I have a coil spring compressor. I have a small one. This is what this one takes, and it's pretty simple to put in and take off, although you have to have a little patience. And on the bottom here, the strut just kind of sits down on that fork, and you put the pinch bolt back in and put it all back together. And I picked this up online, free shipping, for $23. So don't ask me to give you a link. Just go on eBay, punch in your vehicle, and you'll find the strut you need, because some of these Ford Fusions are a little bit different. And just a quick note, just basic tools is all you'll need. You'll need some sockets, 1/4-inch ratchets, half-inch ratchets, and other than that, a hammer and something to pry on when we're knocking this bottom pinch bolt. Once we take this pinch bolt out here, we have to take a pry bar and kind of pry down on this piece here, that sway bar, and that will kind of knock this strut out of this fork here. But we'll take a hammer and we'll have to hit it, and it should come out. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and start unhooking some of this stuff here, and hopefully this video will help you out. And by the way, there's my brand new rotors and brake pads. The shaking is gone. If you watched my last video, I had a problem with shaking in the steering wheel, but that has been resolved. So now we'll go ahead and replace this strut today. Okay, now to help speed up the video a little bit, I went ahead and loosen everything here that we need to take off for now. This here was a little 8mm bolt for your ABS sensor. Then over here we have this wire that comes down here. It's the same wire that snakes around, and it's a little 10mm. Unhook this, kind of leave that hanging, because when we take this upper ball joint loose, we want this to pivot out a little bit. This will keep this from breaking. And on the back here where your brake line is, we got one more bolt here to take off. And let's see, I think we just about got that there off. All right, there's that. That is also a 10mm. And then we can just kind of pull this up out of the way like this. Now go ahead and take our pinch bolt out. Like I said, I've already gone ahead and loosened that, and you can see it came out fairly well. The camera stay focused. Go ahead and get that out. And there's that one. A little bit on the rusty side. Now if you do that, take your hammer and kind of tap this a little bit here. Free this up, and you can see it's moving. So it looks like it should come out fairly easy. But I've said that before, but we'll see. But that there is loose. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and take this out for now. And you'll probably have to take a hammer and tap it out a little bit. So we got that just about out. It's a little hard to do with me holding the camera like that. So let me go ahead and take that out real quick there. Alright, there that is. What I had to do to get this out, I took my little pry bar and pried down right here on this guy, and this gave me a little space. Okay, so we got this ball joint off, and actually I thought I was going to have to use something like this, but once I got the bolt halfway off, this whole thing started spinning. So make sure when you're taking your upper ball joint off, you see up in there, you gotta use something like this. Make sure that goes up in there, it's the right size, and you're going to have to use something like this and get you a socket on the bottom and hold that shaft so this whole thing doesn't spin around, just so you know, because typically when these nuts get about halfway off, this ball joint actually just popped out on its own. Then this whole shaft there, this whole thing will turn and you'll be in a pickle. So make sure you have the right size here, and make sure this is nice and clean up in there. And I think you can kind of see, if I hold this just right, I had to clean it out a little bit. There was a little rust in there, but I got most of it cleaned out, and I got that off. So that is done there. So now what I have to do is go ahead and just kind of pull this out like that. Now here is one of two things you can do. Get you a pry bar and put above this sway bar end link right here. Simply pry down on it, and if you do, this will almost take this strut out of this knuckle. Or if you don't want to do that, you can go ahead and take off your sway bar end link here. You might have a problem getting them off. If you pop these out, this will take the force off of this fork here, and that fork will just fall right off. So we're just going to use this pry bar here. Watch me here. There we go. And the strut is out. And make sure you put something up here so you don't scratch your paint, so you don't hit that. And now you can see our fork is just kind of hanging here, sort of just kind of sitting there. And you can see how this sway bar end link, there's a lot of upward force on this, so it wants to push this up. This is why it's a little difficult to get this off of the bottom strut. All right, now we'll go ahead and start unhooking some bolts on the top, and this thing is ready to come out. Okay, let's go ahead and get this off here. Now you have to take one of your hands and kind of catch that. If you have someone helping you, have him put his hand down there, but we're just going to let it fall. Just like that. Didn't go for her, and let's take it out. And there she is. Let's take it inside here and look at it real quick, and you can see the spring is not all that big, so just a small spring compressor will do the job just fine. Make sure you take your struts and kind of put them side by side, make sure that they're pretty much the same, and go from there, and we'll be done here shortly. Now here is a spring compressor I'm going to be using. I've had this for 10 or 15 years. I only paid $30 for it. This will work just fine to get this off. So looks like we're on a pretty good roll here. Alright, so I got my spring off, and it was a little nerve-wracking. This spring compressor that I have here is just big enough. It's really not the right size, but I made it work. So I got the old shock here, the old strut out. And here is the new one. Go ahead and stick it in. And there are a lot of tutorials online on how to actually compress a spring and all that. And now we'll go ahead and slide this onto that. And here is the old stuff I'm going to reuse. There's no problem here. Of course, I'll have to use their nut. I'm going to see if my old nut will fit on here just for the heck of it. Actually, it does fit on there. So this one here is a self-locking. Yeah, it should work. So now I got to go ahead and stick this in there. So I pretty much know how it goes. It's in like this. That's like that. And then we'll just simply put our piece here on this one here, like that. And go ahead and put our boot and stuff back on here. But you get the idea. I need to set the camera down and go ahead and stick this in here with both hands. And we'll go ahead and put it back together. So my advice is, if you don't have a spring compressor and you don't like dealing with these springs, just buy the whole assembly. It'll be a lot easier. It'll probably be about $40 to $50 more, but it'll probably save you a lot of headache, because if you get into a problem with these springs and you can't compress them, or if one of these compressor springs tools go flying off, you could hurt yourself. Just so you know, it's kind of a dangerous job, but if you don't have one of these tools, just buy the whole assembly and just be done with it. Show you this here real quick, and you can see there's the spring set up, and this is the piece that goes on the top here. fairly easy to put in, and the boot goes down like that on there. And actually it went on a lot easier than I had thought. And I'm just kind of aligning the spring up on the bottom here the way it was on that, and on the top I had this little paint mark. Let me show you real quick. Actually, you know what? I have this upside down. Hang on a second. No, actually that's right. What I need is this piece here. That goes on top, and I have a little paint mark that goes on that. So I'll spin this like this a little bit, and we'll put this on top like that, and we're pretty much done. All I gotta do is go ahead and put the bolt on the top and finish this job. Okay, so our strut is on. Everything is pretty much the way I want it. The bottom of it went on like that. There's my paint mark on the top, and we're ready to go ahead and put this on. So I guess I like it when a plan comes together. I don't know about you. All right, so let's go ahead and put this on. I'm not going to show you every step, but we'll go ahead and get it on here and wrap this video up, and hopefully it helps you out. And if it does, give me a thumbs up. Okay, it's in. Now here is a tip. If you're going to go ahead and take this off and change it without fooling with these outer sway bar end links, which I don't blame you, because a lot of times you've got to cut them off and you've got to replace them. When you go to put this back on, now follow me really quick. It's real easy. Make sure that you have a little breaker bar like this. You find it. Well, this is actually a tire iron. When you get ready to put this back in, take your tire iron and pull down on this sway bar end link, then stick this big pipe in behind here. You cannot stick that big pipe in behind there for the breaker bar until you pull this down a little bit with a smaller bar. So just so you know, but once you do that, then just wiggle this up onto the strut and put your pinch bolt in, and I've already got the top of it in, so we're good there. And now we'll go ahead and finish up. I don't want to miss any details because I know you want to save time and money. Okay, and lastly, after you get all this taken care of, you get the pinch bolt tight, get you a jack. Everybody's got a jack, right? Or get you a little, your car jack. Stick it up into the ball joint, lift it up a little bit, and that way you can guide this bolt in here on the bottom of this fork. That'll go right in there. You have to lift it up about an inch and go ahead and put it together, and this goes on the back of it. And then go ahead and tighten it up. Of course, I'm cheating. And you can see on the back here, right there where my finger is, that's where that guy goes. Okay, and after you do that, the only other thing you have to do, take your time and double check, make sure all your wires and your brake lines is exactly where you want them. Then all you have to do is put the bolts in them and finish up. That way you can put this ball joint in last, and none of this will be going the wrong way. Okay, and one other quick note, on my shock here, I had these optional brake bolts that you can put in. You have one back here for the brake line, and one on this side. This one I cut off because when it comes up right here and kind of kinks, this one here gets in the way, but you can either bend it or just cut it off. I just cut mine off. You actually may be able to run your brake line on this side and hook it up, but it doesn't really matter. I wanted to keep mine where it was before from the factory, so that is all taken care of there. And also make sure you put your line behind here before you go too far, because there is enough room to slide this line down behind here and onto this bracket back there. So all we got to do is go ahead and tighten this up here. And that's back just like it was when we started. And now we'll go ahead and put our screw in for our little ABS sensor there. Get that in there just right. And our ABS wire there, and that is a 10, by the way. That is a 10 millimeter bolt there, and this one here, believe it or not, that's an 8 millimeter. And lastly, the only thing we have left to do is go ahead and hook our ball joint up, and we are done. So in order to do that, I'm going to bring this up just a little higher in order to get this a little bit closer here, and we're pretty much done. And lastly, make sure you get your upper ball joint nut good and tight, and it says 50 pounds, and it feels really good to me, and it actually went on a lot easier than I thought. What I did was I took a little grease and I greased up the threads, and that really made that going a lot easier. So now all we got to do is put the tire on, take this baby for a spin, and before you do that, check your brakes. Make sure your brakes look okay. Check all the wires, make sure everything looks good. Go back and look at your pictures if you took any before. And if you do all that, you are an ace. I'll see you back here shortly. Okay, it's all together now. One last thing. Go inside, turn your wheel all the way to the left. Come out here and look. Make sure this brake line isn't stretched too far. Go back inside, turn the wheel to the right. Make sure this brake line is not really kinked, because I've seen some guys put these on there, and when they turn to the right, this brake line is so stretched, they actually have to bend this little hook here back a little bit to let it have a little flex. So just so you know, check that out. All right, now let's take it for a spin and see how she does. All right, everyone, great news. I took care of the noise. The noise every time I would hit a hole, it'd sound like if someone had taken a sledgehammer and smack it in front of the car. That's gone. So that strut was actually bad, and I didn't really notice it until about a week ago. So I just want to let you know that was taken care of and all that. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if I can just help one person, then I've accomplished my goal. So thanks for watching, guys, and until my next video, stay safe out there, and I'll see you later.